Welcome to the Authentically Elisa podcast, Reshaping Business with Integrity, the podcast where we explore how to run your business authentically and with integrity. I'm your host, Elisa Bogarts, a business coach and launch manager, helping coaches launch their programs and events that align with their business values. Together, we'll uncover these secrets to building a successful business without sacrificing morals, ethics, authenticity, or heart. Let's dive in. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. Today, we're going to be talking about authenticity over perfectionism and really about letting go of fear and building a business that you love. And today I have an amazing guest with me. Her name is Tina Jett. And Tina is a transformational coach and mindset trainer. And we have known each other for years. We met through an amazing coach named Jennifer Grace, which she's episode number 1 or 2, I believe. So go check that out if you want to see about her. But first, keep listening to this one with Tina. She helps individuals overcome fear, embrace authenticity, and create a life they love. With a background in corporate and holistic healing, she blends strategy with energy work to guide clients towards clarity, confidence, and success, one imperfect step at a time. Welcome, Tina. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too, especially because I think it was a year and a
We,
half ago or something that we did this podcast course together, and we were like, we're going to do podcasts.
it was a while ago. Yeah, definitely. We went through that, and then now we both have podcasts launched, and it's just so
Yeah,
much fun.
it's so much fun. I love it. So yeah, tell us your story, how you got into this field of work and just why you're so passionate. I know that we both have the scars of corporate and escaped.
Absolutely. I definitely did the hustle and bustle of the corporate grind. I was in sales. I was an account manager for a large company, and I had large accounts, and it was all about the bottom number every month. It was all about meeting those quarterly goals, and I felt like I was just a number. Like I didn't feel like there was any real true value in what I had because all they cared about was the numbers. And I learned a long time ago that relationships is what mattered and to show up authentically, which as I did that in corporate, I was very successful in corporate because I did what other salespeople didn't do. And I built the relationships and I learned how to be authentic. And so going through that every morning when I would get up, it wasn't happy. It wasn't like I was excited. And I didn't like saying, oh boy, it's Monday. Here we go again. And as I was going through my own personal, growth, I kind of looked around at my life and I thought, this is it. I'm going to be on this hamster wheel, just continuing the same thing over and over. And so then that's when I started, my growth, and I went on a spiritual journey, learned Reiki, went back to school, received my coaching certificates, and now I help others, whether it's with their business or those that feel like they're stuck on the hamster wheel of life, and I help them get off of that and start showing up authentically, in their businesses and in their life as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's just so important and then you said that again, it's so true with, yeah, sales and just business in general. It is actually really about those relationships because doing things transactional, just doesn't really, I don't think, give you those like long-term clients. And I think that the relationships are really important. And even just if like, even when I think about you and I and our relationship and how we've always been very authentic together and how we got to go to that retreat in Costa Rica and, like our relationship has just kind of grown and evolved. And even though we're not each other's clients in any ways, this relationship, and here we are on each other's podcasts and, there's so many opportunities because we were able to develop a very authentic relationship.
Oh, absolutely. And it's really it's getting on building the rapport, whether
Mm.
whether it's with clients, with people, it doesn't matter. There's always somebody to connect with. You never know. That's the next opportunity. And a lot of times we just walk on by. And
Mhm.
I think that a lot of times especially in corporate world or yeah, in corporate, we're not taught to be authentic. I always showed up authentically, and that is why I was a success in corporate. I think that's why I'm a success. I do really well now in my coaching business because I've learned that authenticity, it's not just a buzzword. It's it's the foundation. It's a foundation for a fulfilling business, for a life that feels good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 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 100%. And how you just said about, showing up and connecting, and I know we're going to dive into this a little bit about just messy action and going past the fear, because even just the other day I was in a mastermind, and I kind of got there and I was like, oh, I don't know what I want help with, because usually in a mastermind everybody says kind of comes with a problem or something that they're looking for help with or support on from the group. And then it got sort of towards the end of the meeting, and I realized that I had like the next 4 hours of meetings. I was going to be on Zoom, and I was like, oh, I better grab some lunch right now. So I was like eating some soup. So I was off camera and on mute. And we had 5 minutes left. And she was like, oh, Lisa, you haven't gone. Do you have something? And, in that moment, I was like, okay, let's just push through this. Like, let's just actually talk about what I want. And I was just saying about how I was pivoting, um, I was sort of trying to figure out how I can connect with my new ideal clients. And then there was two women in the room. And they're like, well, I think I'm your ideal client. Let's connect. But if I hadn't actually, got pushed through that fear, actually said something, or even if I didn't have something specific that I wanted help on, I still
Mhm.
spoke up. And then there they were right there. And it was about making that connection.
It is. It's definitely. I remember when I first started out in sales, I never planned to be in sales. So it just kind of happened that I had a knack for it. And I thought that I had to really present myself like in a certain way. And I had to say certain things and make sure I'm saying the right things, whatever the right things are, I don't know, to be able
Yeah.
to fit into, what I thought success should look like. And so I looked at my peers and I saw everything they were doing, and all they cared about was the sale. And I thought, that made me feel disconnected because I
Mm.
I didn't want to mold myself into that image where, I'm selling whatever it is that I'm selling. I'm selling the mass amount because I needed that sale. I was all about the little guy, and they'll just keep coming back. Just give them the minimum, whatever it is, and building that relationship. And to this day, I have clients. I'm not even in corporate anymore, but I have clients from years ago that still reach out to me. I've watched their grandkids grow up. They invite me to different functions that they're doing just because of the relationship that I built, because they bought from somebody that they trust.
Yeah.
That trust is there, somebody that they can relate to. And I think the more that we really just lean into who we truly are and we show up authentically, that's when the opportunities align. Just like what happened with you when they said, "Hey, do you have something to say?" And next thing you know, they're saying, "Oh, I'm your ideal client." That's when we're aligned, that's when the opportunities come, that's when the clients come, that's when the doors open. And so I think it's really important to really detach from the outcome.
Yes, yes. Let's talk about that a little bit, because that's something I find is so difficult. And
It's
especially
a
because,
juicy
like,
one.
I feel
Yeah.
like, there's so many, even like business coaches and things. And even, I mean, like I do it as well with like helping people launch their programs, talk about like, what is your goal for this program, what are your launch? And, we're always kind of talking about numbers and hitting targets. And I think that they're important, but we also have to detach from that outcome. And I find that to kind of be a hard balance between setting the goal and driving towards it, but not being attached to it. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that, and like,
Yeah, so
how we
I'm
can
gonna
kind
I'm
of do
gonna
that.
talk a little bit about my coaching business. When I first started I was still working corporate, and I was looking at leaving corporate and doing my business full time. And we can get into the fear about that in a moment, but
Yeah.
I was really attached in the beginning to the outcome of my business. And if I launched something and it didn't sell, the way I was hoping it would sell, then I would immediately start to question myself and say, okay, well,
Mm.
was this a wrong idea? Nobody wants what I have to offer. I'm doing something wrong. What do I need to change? And then I started thinking about from the corporate world, and I started saying, I need to bring in my thought patterns from when I was in corporate. And so what I realized is that when we focus too much on the result, then we're going to lose sight of why we started it in the first place. And why I started coaching in the first place is because I wanted to help people change their lives. I want them to
Right.
live their best life so that when they get to the end, whenever that is, they don't have any regrets. And so if we're just looking at success by the outcome, or the number of sales or the number of clients or whatever it is, then we're continually chasing those numbers instead of looking at the impact. So instead, I shifted my focus and started doing my coaching business the way I handled when I had my corporate accounts. And I focused on the relationships even more. And I didn't care, and I still don't care about the outcome. I mean, obviously, I have bills to pay and I need a roof over my head, but I know that's going to happen and I'm going to be fine with that. And so once I started shifting the focus to the relationship, whether it's a client, somebody on social media, maybe it's somebody I meet at the grocery store and I'm having a casual conversation with, whatever it is, I look at every single interaction that I have as an opportunity to connect with somebody and possibly serve them. And so some people will say yes to me now, right away, and go, I have to work with you. I've gotten that. Some people later, some people I have to just nurture, and some people it's not going to be a good fit, and that's okay. And it's fine if we don't have the right fit. Not everyone's going to be the right fit for us, but I feel like approaching my business that way and not being attached to the outcome, it takes the pressure off and makes running a business so much more full of ease and more enjoyable.
Yes, absolutely. And, this podcast in season 2 is all about reshaping business with integrity. And I think that this is one of those ways that you can do that.
Absolutely. And not allowing fear to hold you back. Because when we're attached to the outcome, then there's going to be a fear there. And we want to release the fear because fear is a low vibrational feeling that we want to let go of, which is hard because a lot of us, that's what holds us back, especially as entrepreneurs or even in the sales world, any in the corporate world. A fear will be there and it'll hold people back and it will stop them from showing up authentically.
Yeah, 100%. I've definitely felt that for sure.
Hmm.
I've lived in
Hmm.
fear a lot and be like, okay, I have to act this way or that way. And like, then it's just no fun at all. But yeah, can you share a time when you had to push past the fear and kind of take imperfect action?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, a fear of being judged was a big
Mm,
one in the beginning, especially when I was leaving corporate and starting my own business in my late 40s, almost 50. And I had a fear of being judged that people would say I was too old or what does she think she's doing? I also had a fear of saying the wrong thing when I was at networking events. Well, what if I didn't say the right thing? What if I didn't get the right response from somebody? And so I had to let that go
mm,
and realize that nobody else is going to have my exact perspective, right? No one else is going to have my exact experiences or my way of doing things. And so I realized that's my power. That's my
yeah.
power. And then the more we hold back out of fear, then we're going to deny people who actually need to hear our message the opportunity to hear our message. And so I always try to remind myself every day that my job is to just show up, to
Mhm.
just show up authentically, not control how other people see me or how other people respond. I just need to show up. I know I will resonate with some people and I know I will not resonate with others. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. I know that I'm not meant for everybody and not everybody wants what I have to offer. And that goes for when I was in corporate as well. When I was in corporate, I'll just add this in. I was not attached to the outcome. Yes, did I need to make my quota every quarter? Absolutely. And I did. But because I wasn't attached to that sale, if I had gone into it saying, I have to have it, I have to have it, then I'm not showing up authentically and then it doesn't happen. Same thing with my coaching business. So I was always attached to the relationship and not attached to the outcome. And always just try to show up to just provide them, what they need. And if they want to say yes, they do. And if they don't, that's okay too. But letting go of that fear.
Yeah, I love that. And there can be so much about it. Like when I go to so many networking events and, some of them, the people that run them, some of them give you, sort of guidelines being like, hey, like you're going to go in a breakout room. So like, we introduce yourself. We kind of suggest this format or just, this is a way of thing. But other networking things that they're like, no, this is a strict way that you have to say this because this is the best way of this and that. And I get like the strategy behind it. And like you're trying to sort of introduce yourself in the right way to catch people and like start building those relationships, especially if it's the first time you're meeting them. But sometimes when we get such strict guidelines, like I think for at least for me, that's where the fear can come in, right? It's like, oh my God, I have to say it perfectly, or else, the person is not going to like me or whatever, or they're not going to understand what I do,
Hmm.
or it's going to be a lost opportunity. And so I have to memorize it. And then I'm just thinking about the memorization of it as opposed to just being like, hi, you're a human, I'm a human, this is what I do, and just talk about it. And the thing is that if it's the right and you do have a connection, you'll have more opportunity to talk, and then they'll eventually like figure out what it is that you do. You don't have to have it this perfect like 2 3 sentence 30-second intro that
Oh,
you know
exactly. An elevator pitch, or they say niche it down, and I'm like, no, just show up. And just sometimes I just say, let me just see what comes out. And I do so
yeah.
much better when it's not planned and I just show up authentically. If somebody was to ask me what do I do, I mean, my title could be considered, mindset trainer, life coach, Reiki master. That could be a title, but that's not what I do. What I do is I get to be witness to people's transformation. I get to hold their hand and help them take baby steps to live their most authentic life. And so I feel like it's just really showing up with integrity.
Mm, yeah, yeah, being super authentic and showing up with your integrity.
Yeah.
So I know that you talk about messy action. So tell us, what does that mean and why is it just so powerful?
I think that it's important to give ourselves permission to show up messy because a lot of times we set expectations on ourselves that nobody could fulfill. And so, what I've learned is when I give myself permission to say, as long as I'm showing up and I'm doing it, if it's a little bit messy, it's okay. In fact, that's how I was able to give myself permission to start my podcast. My podcast, as you mentioned earlier, we went through a training together. And I had my podcast named, I had interviews done, and then it just sat. And I didn't do it because I felt like I needed it to be perfect. And I'm
Mm.
like, this is great. No, it doesn't need to be perfect. This is not what I preach. I'm preaching about showing up for yourself, showing up with integrity, just doing it. And so I let it just kind of sit there and marinate for a little while, kind of on the back burner, and went through the summer. And then finally I said, you know what? I'm going to have fun and I'm just going to do it. And if it's messy, who cares? If it changes one person's life or day and makes them have a better day and they get something from it, then it's going to be worth it. And so that's what got me over the hump and releasing the fear of the podcast because I'm not attached to the outcome of it. I'm having fun with it. So anything that I do, whether it's teaching a program, whatever it is, I do it if there's fun attached. If it's not fun, then I don't really want to be engaged. And I'm never attached to the outcome. If I'm teaching a class, whether it's in person, on Zoom, whatever I'm doing, I just say it's okay for it to be messy and just show up as long as it's fun. And so the podcast is fun. I'm having a blast doing it. People are listening. I mean, it's not the top 10, but it'll get there. It'll get there, but I'm having fun with it. And so that's what I mean about showing up and just giving yourself permission to be messy, giving yourself permission not to do it perfect because there is no such thing as perfect. And so
No.
as long as I'm having fun, if it's a little bit messy, so what? And the other thing I'll ask myself is messy according to who? Who says it's messy? Right?
Right.
Because we are our own worst critic. And so I think my podcast is fine. I'm getting great feedback on it. But that was one thing I had to really let go of and give myself permission to just do it and have fun with it. And it's okay to be messy.
So what's the name of your podcast so we can let everybody know so you can listen to it?
Oh, it is the Harmony Blueprint, Disrupting the Grind. It comes out every Thursday. There's a new episode. And then I also have on there what's called Coaching Corner. And that's where listeners can go on, fill out a form, and then they have the opportunity to actually be coached by me. And then that is also on the special episodes called Coaching Corner on the podcast.
Very cool. I love that concept. That's great.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. And that's something that I love about this podcast. Like I've thought about when I was going into season two, I was like, oh, should I just end the podcast or should I not? Because it was kind of becoming not so much fun, especially when it was getting so busy and I still do all the editing myself. And so I thought about it, but then I was like, you know what? Actually, this is just, it's really a lot of fun. I love interviewing the people. And I have like a list of people that I want to interview. I'm like, why don't I got to reach out to these people and just like, have a chat with them? Because it's just, it's so awesome. And you're right about it just kind of being messy. And I think that is right. Because I think there's quite a few people that were in that course with us that still haven't launched their podcast yet. And I think that maybe that could be something that's sort of holding them back. For me, I was like, let's go. Like I'm such the doer, you know, I just want to get it out there. And
I mean, it's everything. It's the podcast, it's the programs, it's the book in our head. Whatever it is, there's something that we want to do, and then we procrastinate on it, and we don't want to procrastinate. And so we need to kind of just set those boundaries for ourselves that no, I'm going to get this done. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, one of
I
my favorite things that I always say to myself, and I say to my clients as well, is how good can it get? Like, what else is possible when we let go of the attachment to the outcome and we give ourselves permission to show up and let it be messy? It's going to be okay because it's going to get even better. So often when we focus on what could go wrong,
mm,
but I like to flip it. And so if we flip it and we're focused on all the amazing possibilities that will happen, what could unfold that we have not even thought about yet when we launch our podcast or we launch our book or we launch our business or whatever it is, when we fully step into our authentic selves and just show up.
yeah,
It's
how good can
amazing.
it get? How good can it
How
get?
good can how good can it get? Right? When we trust the value that we bring, whatever that is, whatever it is that we're doing, when we trust in ourselves and we just show up and we show up with integrity and we show up authentically, it's like magic. Everything then starts to align.
Yeah.
And when everything starts to align, that's when the business is fun or whatever it
Mhm.
is we're engaged in. That's where the fun, that brings in the fun piece, right? And when we're aligned that way, I'm telling you, it is like magic. That's when the right opportunities come, the right connections. All of a sudden you're in the right place at the right time. And that's when success happens. And so not
Yeah.
because we force it, but because we're open to just allowing it and by saying, how good can it get? What else is possible that I haven't thought of yet?
Yes, yes. And we never know, right? Like so many things unfold in ways you're just like, well, I never expected that to happen. And I love that
Mhm.
we're talking about this because I've had this blocker for a long time, probably my entire time I've had my business, the last say 4.5 years of reaching out to people. I always am like so hesitant to make the connection or to reach out to people or send them a message on LinkedIn or something like that. And I just love this, have fun with it and showing up authentically and just, send a message to somebody, say hello. It doesn't have to be, again, it's always like that. Oh, but I need to kind of do it in like a sales way, or like, I don't want to be pushy, or I don't
Mhm.
want them to think about this, or I don't want them to think about that, or what am I going to say? And I can't remember our conversation, or when did I met with that person? And I try and go do all this research and then I get lost. And then, the half an hour I had to do the task, I didn't even do it. And then I allow myself to get
Exactly.
distracted in 10 ways. And then by the time I know the end of the day is done and I haven't reached out to one person, I'm like, oh my goodness. But like everything that you were just saying, how good can it get? Nothing needs to be perfect. Just
Mhm.
reach out.
Just do it and reach out, but reach out authentically. Like one thing, I'm never salesy. I'm not attached to the outcome of how many people enroll into my programs or hire me privately. I'm not attached to that. I'm more attached to building the relationship. My emails aren't salesy. Like I'm not one of those that just push going, oh, 48 hours left. Get in now. You need this. Like if people know what I do, if they want to work with me, great. And if they don't, that's okay too. I just hope that they do something for themselves, some type of, improvement. Because I'm all about mindset and, living our best life and, moving forward, but just showing up, just showing up.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And giving yourself that permission to just be you. And it's all
Mm-hmm.
good.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. Um, yeah, so like I think we talked about a few things already, but what sort of one specific action do you think that people, our listeners could do today about this kind of maybe about taking messy action, or maybe like taking that first little baby step or something like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do everything in baby steps. So the first thing is just, yes, what's one action step that they can take today, depending on what it is. So say it's the business, maybe it's reaching out to somebody. Maybe the action step is you make a list of 5 people that you're going to reach out to, right? And then you commit to doing it in this next week.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is accountability. What do you need for accountability? Somebody that you're checking in with. Maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it's a coach. Whoever that you're letting somebody know, I'm committed to reaching out to 5 people in the next week. And it's just building that relationship. So you mentioned LinkedIn. So let's run with that. Connect with 5 people on LinkedIn and or reach out to 5 people that you're already connected with. Excuse me, that you're already connected with and to maybe send them something, an invitation to something you have going on or ask a question. People love to talk about themselves. Maybe there's a mentor, somebody that's been there, done that you can reach out to, but definitely setting goals. And it's going to be different depending on each listener of your podcast as to what their goal is. But let's say, the goal is you want to go on a fitness journey. Okay, great. So maybe today you research some gyms and you commit to which one you're going to join. And you're going to join in this next week. Or maybe you already a member of a gym, but you haven't been going, so you're committed to say, I'm going to go on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 a.m. for 30 minutes. So whatever, personal or professional, it doesn't matter, but just make that commitment and then tell somebody. Just tell somebody. So that way there's somebody that knows. When we voice it to somebody else, we're going to show up. And we're going to do it because we don't want them, when they ask us, for us to say, oh yeah, no, I didn't do that. Right? So
Yeah.
it helps to have, yes, accountability.
It does definitely help. Yeah. And I recommend everybody get an accountability buddy. It's so funny with me because I am like the taskmaster, the organized, the doer person, holding people accountable. Very few people hold me accountable. Whenever I get into any type of meeting or if we have accountability pods, it's always me holding everybody, but no one holds me accountable. It's so very interesting.
Same. No, it's same with me. I'm in an accountability pod and I had a meeting actually yesterday. And next thing I know, I feel like I'm holding them accountable, going, well, what can you do today? What can you commit to in this next week? And then I'm like, wait a minute, who's holding me accountable? I need
Yeah.
accountability too.
And then sometimes I'm even kind of glad because I'm like, well, actually, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. So, because but if I knew that someone there was actually going to ask me, I probably would have.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Even like I'll tell my best friend if I'm committed to drinking more water, whatever it is. I'm like, okay, I'm committed to drinking my, gallon of water every day. And then she'll ask me, did you drink your water? And I don't want to say no, so I have to do it.
yeah, yeah, chugging it back before you reply to her message.
I know. I did.
I did it. Yeah, one thing I have is something that I sort of have in my calendar is this question is like, what's the one thing that I can do today that's going to have the biggest impact in getting me from where I am to where I want to be? And it could just be reaching out to that one person. It could be drinking that gallon of water because it's going to give you energy that could take you to where you want to be. Like what is that thing that I can do today? And I love the way that it's phrased because it's about being present. It's not about, oh, I didn't do that yesterday, or oh, I got to hit my goals, or like, what about tomorrow? Or, I have to do these things. It's like, what about right now? What is that biggest thing right now that I can do? And we're talking about, where you want to be, because, so you do have that goal, you do have that vision, you do have an idea of where you want to go. And it's like, okay, what is that one step that's going to
Mhm.
get me closer to it?
No, and I love that. And can I share with you what I say? Because it's very similar.
Yes, yes, please.
I always say, what can I do today to create my tomorrow?
Mm.
And so again, so that we're showing up, because if we have whatever our goal is, I mean, time goes by fast.
Oh, so
And
fast.
next, it's a month in. I mean, we're in March already. And
Yeah.
so, and so you think about the goals at the beginning of the year, where are we at? And so it's a good way to check in, with ourselves. So yeah, I love that. Just check in. What am I doing for myself today? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think if we do that every day, you are stepping towards what you want to do, as opposed to
Hmm.
dwelling on what you have been doing or what you haven't been doing or what didn't work or whatever. What can I do? And maybe even if it is, say you just had a webinar or product launch or something and it didn't go the way you wanted it to go, well, maybe that step is, okay, well, where do I want to go? Like, I want to try again. So maybe today is my lessons learned day. Maybe today is my, like, how can I do things differently? And I'm actually going to sit down and think about that. So then I can have action to move forward to make it better next time.
Yeah, because say you did have, a webinar or something and there was low attendance. I don't look at that as a failure. I look at that as information. Say,
Hmm.
okay, interesting. So what was the takeaway that people had? Like I did something recently and I had quite a few people join it, and then I reached out to them all afterwards to get their feedback on it, because it was something new that I was piloting, and just to see, what did you think and what was your takeaway? And the takeaway was apparently I gave too much information, and so they were like, "I'm good," but no, but yeah, it definitely is. I just look at everything as I'm learning, I'm gathering information, so. I don't ever say something didn't go well. I'm like, okay, that was interesting. What did I learn from that? And how
Hmm.
can I take that and apply it to whatever I'm doing in the future? What do I want to change? And so that usually helps as well.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Oh, well, this was just so awesome. Just kind of like sort of recap the things that I'm taking away. So we sort of started with talking about detaching from the outcome of things, right? And really looking at the impact that you want to have, and always coming back to your why for your business. And that can really help to release the fear of it, that, because if you're so attached to the outcome, there's like lots of fear attached. So just release that. And then we talked a lot about, being authentic and showing up in integrity and really just being you. And I love that you said that, like, we're all unique, and that's actually our power. So bring your unique self and then show up messy. It's all right. You can be messy. And that really can attach a lot of fun to it with everything that we do. And that, there's really just no such thing as perfect. And it's just a comment on that, what I might think is perfect could be completely opposite of what somebody else thinks is perfect. And so if you're always trying to be everybody else's perfect, you'll never achieve it because everybody has a different perspective on it, including yourself. So, maybe we could just let go of that a little bit and showing up messy and having fun and thinking about how good can it get instead of,
Yes.
thinking of the negative side. Look at the how good can it get. So where can our listeners find you online, Tina?
I am on social media under LifeWire, or you can connect with me, Tina Jett. I'm online. They can follow me, my page as well. And then, of course, the website. I don't know if you're going to put that in the show notes, but it's www.life-wire.net. And viewers can go on there. And if you sign up for my email list, then they actually receive my boundary setting workshop for free, which is really good.
Nice. Yes, we could all use, even if you're good with boundaries, it's always good to have a refresher because I find that as we like grow and evolve, there's new people in our lives, there's new things that are happening, and we always need to sort of be looking at setting new boundaries, and like everything that we do, there's always new boundaries that need to be set. So go check out the free workshop, people. It's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely have the website in the show notes. And to
Wonderful.
end us off, do you have any final words of wisdom?
I think that just focus on the amazing possibilities. What else is possible that you have not thought of yet? Let go of your attachment to the outcome and stop trying to control it, and just allow the magic to come in when you're able to give yourself permission to just be open to what's going to come in.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, Tina. This is amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically. So please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa, signing off authentically.